Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the second episode of Lingua Literaria. I'm your host Amir Zahur. As you all know, the show is about linguistics and literature. We bring such topics which are very important for our viewers. Today we are going to talk about academic research. As you all know, academic research is very significant in higher studies. When we talk about academic research, we have to consider certain things like time constraint, department rules, and certain other things which we will discuss in today's show. Simply, academic research is different from non-academic research. For example, if we talk about non-academic research, we don't have the issue of time, we don't have the issue of funding, we don't have the issue of topic approval. But if we talk about academic research, we have to focus on certain things. Like we have to follow the time constraint given by the department, we have to get the approval of topic, we have to focus on the particular things which are being suggested by the department or are being in the being in trend. Today we are going to discuss about the linguistic research. Before moving toward our topic, let me introduce our guest speaker. Today we have invited Dr. Fatma Zafar Beg. She has done her PhD from BZU. She has an experience of 15 years of teaching in different universities of Pakistan. She has published 8 research papers in different HEC journals. She has also supervised 45 plus students at MPhil level. She is currently working as assistant professor and research coordinator for linguistics at the Department of English, ISP, Multan. Welcome, madam. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Madam, it is an honor for us that you came here and you gave us your precious time. Madam, today's topic of discussion is academic research in linguistics or linguistic research. Before moving toward the purely talk about purely linguistics or linguistic research, usually in Pakistan, the people, they understand that the English studies, they focus on literature only. Like they think that the research in English studies is mainly centers around literature. So usually students, they get confused about the literary research and linguistic research. So I want that you first brief us about the difference between the literary research and linguistic research.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, I would like to extend my gratitude to ISP Studio for inviting me here as a guest. And yes, this is a very important question, and this is one of the greatest concerns of the students in the field nowadays, that they get confused while choosing the field between literature and linguistics. So this is I really want to expand this issue because I am in the field for the last 15 years, and students often come to me and ask me, ma'am, which is important regarding field as a subject, and in which subject we have to go for the specialization. So, according to me, there are different concepts about literature and linguistics. Some people say that literature and linguistics are totally different fields, and some people say that they are not the different field, they are one and the same thing. But we have to look at these things from 2 different angles actually. At one side, we can say that literature and linguistics are similar. How? Because the commonality between linguistics as a subject and literature as a subject is the language. The language is the basic component.
Language is the common thing.
Yes, language is a common thing that unite these 2 different disciplines together. If I want to go into the details, so literature is something, that is a very old classic subject. We all know about the historical ages like Anglo-Saxon period, Anglo-Norman period. So we all about the literature is very unique, very old. And when we particularly talk about literature in its generic term, it's all about the written work. And when we talk about the very common definition of literature, it's all about the reflection of society. Mostly we hear from the books and from the teachers that the first thing a student listens or hears from the teacher, that literature is a reflection of society or the reflection of thought, or it mirrors society. So how literature mirrors society or reflects society or people? Through writing. When someone writes something, they express their emotions, they reflect their culture, their age, their country, their identities, their socio-political scenarios, each and everything. This is something that we unconsciously do as a writer. And sometimes, obviously, the writers consciously do that, but most of the time, it is something that when we write something, through written expression, we express our culture, our language, our socio-political environment, our country, our religion, and there are so many other values that we are expressing actually. So literature is basically about the study of culture and people, their values, their social practices. So it's a very broader term. And so far English literature is concerned, it means that the literature that is written in England. So when we read some English literature, some piece of work on like English literature, it means we are going to find out that what is going on in England, or what has been going on in England in 14th century or in 15th century or like that, but through language.
Through language.
Yes. So, or say similarly, when we talk about Pakistani literature or American literature or some other kind of literature, it means we are going to study about their culture, their religion, their values, etc. So basically, study of literature is not directly related to the studies of language. But what linguistics? Linguistics is a recent development in the field of study. In the late 18th century, linguistics and the literary scholars, they used to work together. But in the first half of the 19th century, people started realizing that literature and linguistics are two different fields. Because when we talk about linguistics, we are not directly studying culture or values. Actually, we are concerned as linguists, we are concerned with the study of language itself. And when we talk about language, again, it's not about English language, it's about language, right?
Any language.
Any language. If we are linguists and if we intend to study linguistics, it means we are interested in any language, because all the languages have got some commonality. Every language has got sound system, every language has got word system, sentence system, social values, right? So these are the basic components of linguistics. So
students usually get confused about English language study.
Yes,
whenever they think about linguistics.
Yes, this is one of the major confusions. So when somebody wants to get involved into the linguistic studies, it must be very clear that it is the general language, study of language in general, but a systematic study of language. But obviously, when we go into the details, when we go into the field of linguistics, how can we study when we get expertise in any kind of language, its structures, its functions, whatever? How can we apply those technicalities? Unless we don't have literature, unless we got to have some piece of work on which those theories and technicalities would be applied. So in order to apply those theories of linguistics, we need literature. So is the case with literature. If we want to know the intentions of the writers, that what writers wants to communicate and from where they belong, so if we really want to enjoy the literature, unless until we are unaware about the technicalities of the language embedded in that structure, how would we be able to understand that beauty of literature? So that is how literature and linguistics are interrelated. If somebody wants to get specialized in literature fields, he or she must have some knowledge of linguistics as well. So is the case with linguistics. When somebody wants to get specialized in linguistics, in the field of linguistics, they have to go through the literature. So this is how these two disciplines are interconnected and interrelated.
All right, ma'am, very well explained. It's time for a break. Stay tuned with us. We will come back after a short break.
Institute of Southern Punjab Multan, the largest and pioneer degree awarding institute in South Punjab region.
टेक्नोलॉजी के इस दौर में
एक प्रोफेशनल का स्किलफुल होना इतना ही ज़रूरी है
जितना कि एक इंसान के लिए खुराक का होना ज़रूरी है।
इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ साउथर्न पंजाब के विजन को जहन में रखते हुए
डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ कंप्यूटर साइंस ला रहा है एक ऐसा प्रोग्राम
जिससे मिलेगी ज़बरदस्त इंफॉर्मेशन
हर उस शख्स को जो करना चाहता है कमाल इस फील्ड में।
टीचर्स के नॉलेज से लेकर एलुमनाई के एक्सपीरियंस तक
और एक्सपर्ट ओपिनियन से लेके स्टूडेंट्स के इश्यूज तक
होगी डिस्कशन एक बहुत मज़ेदार अंदाज में।
तो जल्द मुलाकात होती है बैठक में।
Welcome back. Dear viewers, we were talking about the difference between literary research and linguistic research. Dr. Fatima Zafar Beg was explaining that how literary research differs from linguistic research and what are the peculiar things of linguistic research. Ma'am, for me, linguistic research is a bit different from literature, as we have field work in linguistics, which actually makes it different from literary research, because usually students have an understanding that in literature we have to analyze the text, we have to read the text. But in linguistics we have some particular things like field work, surveys and all other things. So in this way, how they can work on such things which are actually different for them.
Yes, you're right, Amir. I mean, linguistics is, as I have told you, it's a recent development in the field of study. So, conducting a research in the field of linguistics is a bit different from research conducting in the field of literature, because linguistics is a bit technical.
Yes.
It's a bit systematic.
It's not mere a textual
yes.
analysis.
And we have got, nowadays we have got different new subjects in the field of linguistics, like forensic linguistics. So we have got eco-linguistics.
Corpus linguistics.
Corpus linguistics. So these are the fields, these are the new emerging fields in subject fields in the genres in the field of linguistics. So these are the, for example, as I have told you, forensic linguistics. So here obviously a linguist, a researcher who is interested to conduct research in linguistics, he or she cannot stay at home. He or she is not just supposed to read the articles and books by staying at home. He or she has to go to the field and conduct research, and that makes it distinguished. That makes it interesting actually. So
usually students think that language exists in books only, but in linguistics we have to consider the context, the real use in real life situations, like sociolinguistics.
Yes, sociolinguistics, like psycholinguistics. I mean, there are so many interesting fields, branches of linguistics that we can work on.
All right, madam. There are some particular components and particular steps involved in academic research. I am focusing on academic research, like students, they do their degrees at MPhil level and PhDs. They have to follow some particular things which I have mentioned in the start of the show as well. So what are those? Actually, students, they must have the knowledge of these components and steps.
Okay. I mean, so far the components of or steps in conducting a research is concerned. I mean, majorly in every research we have got 5 components. Right. First of all, we have to go for the introduction, then we have to go for literature review, then research methodology, then analysis, and then findings and conclusions. I mean, if we go for the research in literature or linguistics, we have to, as a researcher,
for both,
one has to follow all these 5 steps.
5 steps.
Right. But as an expert in linguistics, as an expert in research, I would like to encourage the students to take research, take interest in research. Usually in Pakistan and the students, they don't get exposure, that much exposure to research. That's why they get discouraged
this
sometimes.
is actually because of reading summaries and
Yes.
having an understanding of poems, textual analysis, reference to the context. Usually the people they
Yes.
think that this is what
Yes.
actually we have done in our secondary level, at secondary level. So same is the case with the MPhil level, but this
So
is not the
they
case.
They get scared. They are afraid of conducting a research. First of all, they came to, ma'am, I don't want to conduct a research. I want to go for a coursework. This is something I want to communicate to the students through this platform. That
In ISP,
yes,
that
exactly,
we are
especially through
encouraging.
the platform of ISP. Later on, I'm coming to that point that all these frights and their concerns are, catered in ISP. We are dealing with all these problems of the students here at ISP. So, if I want to tell them that research is just like an anecdote, it's just like a story. You have to just make sense of your work. That first of all, obviously, you have to find out the problem. That's what we call the technical term in research, the statement of the problem. Or it could be a statement of purpose, because when somebody wants to conduct a research, there must be some purpose in his or her mind, or there must be some problem. So, first of all, a researcher has to identify that problem or purpose, that why he or she wants to conduct a research.
Basically, this is related with the topic selection.
Exactly.
If they are clear about their
Yes.
topic, their particular field, they can do this.
Exactly. So, what students do actually, they take all these steps independently. They don't.
They are interconnected.
Yes, they are interconnected. If their first step is, correct, then it's not possible that they would not be able to conduct the rest of the research.
Yes.
So, if they understand the problem, then they can tell the significance of their work, that this is how
So
my
what
research.
actually they have to do means, usually students, they face difficulties to find out the topic, to find out the particular area. So what are those particular things, like how they can find out these things, like how they can develop their topic? Actually, the purpose of this show is that we are actually making aware our viewers and students that they can remove these hurdles, or they can come up with these difficulties, how they can find out their topics or particular area on which they want to work.
Yes. Okay, I totally understand the question, and this is really I wanted to share with my students, and I'm really thankful to you and the ISP studio for giving me this chance to express this thing.
This is for what we are
Yes.
actually conducting
so,
this show.
This is something that first of all, they should have a subject knowledge in detail.
Definitely.
It doesn't start at once. It doesn't start overnight, that you just wake up in the morning and say, okay, ma'am, tell me the topic. It is not like that. When you are doing your coursework, what I practice in my classroom, and usually all the faculty members here at ISP, they do practice it, that while communicating them, while teaching them the subject knowledge, we always give them some practical exposure of the subject. Well, obviously at MPhil level, we teach them 8 courses. So 8 courses, when they conduct mini researches during their coursework, they get to know the exposure of that practical exposure.
Reading
of
is
the,
basically the key
yes.
thing, which
Reading is
actually
the-
lacks in
yes, reading is the
students.
first and the foremost thing. So they have to get the knowledge of the subject in theoretical and as well as practical form. And then by the end of their coursework, they would be able to select their topic, that these are the fields I'm interested in, and they are the fields I want to work on.
Actually, they face difficulties that just recommend us some topic or recommend us book. For that purpose, we are also organizing a show. Hopefully, we will have our other segment, book review segment, in which we will tell students about certain books. By consulting those books, they can actually have some basic understanding about such things. Okay, coming back to the components, ma'am, you were talking about the statement of the problem. So after that, what we have to do?
That obviously after recognizing the problem, then we go for the significance of the research. That why, if we talk about in some other sense, there are 3 aspects. What I am going to do, why I am going to do, and how I am going to do. If any student is clear about these 3 terms, his research is 80% done. So, this is how, because when you decide that why you are going to conduct this research, that very answer leads you towards your research methodology. Right? If you want to work on speaking skills, obviously you have to opt some research method through which he or she or a researcher can get data through their spoken discourse. So, I mean, this is all, as I have told earlier, that these all components are interrelated. So, after, I mean, that literature review and the statement of the problem, significance of the research, after developing their research methodology, research design, then they finally choose some model to apply on that data. Right, and then after analyzing that data, I mean, they come up with some results. So this is a very, I mean, simple process.
Actually, students, they get confused about the model, applying the model. They actually come up with certain things like we want to work on these skills, we want to work on teaching, we want to work on learning. But how they can develop a model or how they can actually develop their topic according to a particular framework?
That's why we have the second section, literature review. I mean, while writing a dissertation, it's a second chapter.
And usually students, they ignore this section and they feel difficulties and they ask again and again.
This is the chapter that they take mostly for granted.
For granted, yes.
Because I usually tell my students that if you really want to conduct a research, this is the practical step you do in conducting a research is a literature review. Review the literature. Related, I mean, whatever the topic you want to select, I mean, review literature regarding it. And that will lead you towards selecting your model or theory.
Okay, ma'am, keeping in view all these things, what are the difficulties you have observed that students, they face, and how ISP is catering these issues at the Department of English?
Yes, I really want to talk about this. As I have told that this is something that student have lack of subject knowledge, practical exposure of the subjects, and one of the most important things is the lack of communication with the supervisor and the teachers. So these three major things are, I mean, we at ISP, I mean, are catering very carefully here. So, I mean, we have got, I mean, we deliver lecture very dedicatedly. We have got, as you know, that in Department of English, we have got 6 PhD doctors permanent basis and 5 adjunct PhD doctors and 40 plus MPhil faculty, MPhil level faculty, and mostly, most of them are PhD scholars and PhD registered. So, I mean, we deliver our best. So far the theoretical knowledge is concerned, so far the practical exposure is concerned, we assign them different research projects. I mean, we are working on that. And so far the third point, as I have said, that the gap of communication, obviously we assign them deadlines, we call them, we invite them to come to our offices and talk to us and discuss their topics.
Recently we have organized online defense for their convenience.
Exactly.
And we have told them.
We have a proper full-fledged system we have developed under the supervision of our Dean, Dr. Zafar, and HOD Dr. Sajid. I mean, we have immediately after the completion of their coursework, we allocate them supervisors. And then we conduct orientation sessions for them, separately for linguistics, separately for literature. We guide them, we tell them, we supervise them that what research really is and how they are supposed to conduct a research about the formatting, APA formatting, each and everything. And then we conduct their vivas.
So actually through your discussion, I conclude that we are catering the needs of students.
Exactly.
And one thing I want to add more in this, that the ORIC department, which is being established in last month, ORIC department is also working on that, and they are actually working on the smooth procedures of thesis submissions and all other research matters. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your presence and your time. I hope all the students, teachers and viewers, they have learned a lot from this discussion, and we will keep on bringing such academic discussions in our upcoming shows. So stay tuned, stay with us. Till then, it's bye-bye from me. Keep smiling, keep learning. Allah Hafiz.